everybody. Welcome back to the Rebel Show. We're back. I apologize. I've been away a little longer than I wanted to. I've been a bit busy, but I'm going to try to get back into the regular flow of things. So, full-time job, children. You kind of want to spend time with kids a little more than talk in front of a camera, but it's important what we're doing, so I'm back. So, I don't know if you guys heard, but recently, the past day or two, maybe it was today or yesterday, Iran shot down an American $180 million drone. And this was in waters that are just, I don't think they're owned by any nation. They're just open waters. And so this could present something interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. So speaking of news, last week we were talking about the freedom of the press, and I'm going to do a part 2 on this because I didn't get through all of it. But to start, Proverbs 17:4 says, wrongdoers eagerly listen to gossip. Liars pay close attention to slander. Sometimes just wanting to hear bad news or wanting to hear wrong things or wanting to mislead people is just in the hearts of someone, and they want their way, they want their agenda, and what do? That's just how they are, right? So let's get into this. So, presidents in the past have done things to hinder the freedom of speech before, the freedom of the press. They have hindered that amendment before, and it's not common knowledge. So I'm going to make some of it knowledge to you out there. President Adams instituted the Sedition Act of 1789. This is from constitution.org, making it illegal to write, print, utter, or publish, or cause to be done, or assist with any false, scandalous, or malicious writings against the government of the United States, of either House of Congress or the President, right? So that's pretty thick right there. Also, with the intent to defame or bring contempt, to disrepute, or to stir up seditions, or to excite unlawful combinations against government, or to resist, or to aid, or encourage hostile designs of foreign nations. So really, if news outlets back in these days, it was more of a printing press type thing, were in cahoots with other foreign governments or something like that, this would bring jail time. This is a big deal. They would intervene. In 1864, after publishing a forged copy of a presidential proclamation, President Lincoln issued an executive order to arrest and imprison any and all persons who printed and published information intended to aid the enemy. Okay? He also possessed by military force the printing establishments of the New York World and the Journal of Commerce. What would happen if a president did that nowadays? They would be charged with attacking the First Amendment or the Second Amendment. So I think it's important to realize that there's a difference between calling out the press and actually taking over. And after this happened, 2 editors were detained and 2 papers were shut down, and they later reopened. And that was from the Unfreedom of the Press book, Chapter 4, Note 22. And during World War I, President Woodrow Wilson supported a series of congressional amendments added to the Espionage Act, which became known as the Sedition Act of May 16, 1918. In part, it says, imprisoned for up to 20 years or fined no less than $10,000 anyone who willfully uttered, printed, published any disloyal, profane, or abusive language about the Constitution, the United States, or branches of military. Many opponents of Wilson's war policies were charged and imprisoned. So this is people being imprisoned now. We're talking about imprisonment because of how they report and the information they report. His plan was to control, manipulate, and censor all the news coverage, right? He had an agenda, and he was getting tired of people and the media doing things and getting information out that he didn't want, right? During the war, 2,000 men and women were arrested for disloyal speech, and over 1,200 went to jail. Wow. Who's going to jail now? Anybody gone to jail in the past 2 years for their reporting? Wilson created the Committee of Public Information, the CPI, on April 1917. This organization was a massive propaganda machine, and it put the government in the business of actively shaping the press coverage about the war, all right? So at its inception in 1934, the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, reduced license renewal periods for radio stations from 3 years to 6 months, all right? So he reduced the time it took where they could apply for licenses. This allowed the President Roosevelt to have authority over the life and death of a radio station. So say something we don't like, and we'll shut you down by not renewing your permit. And if you do something within 6 months, that gives us a really short window to work with. So, 3 years, you'd have to remember everything they said. But in 6 months, you can easily deal with this. And this is the problem. So he would shut down any station that said something by not allowing them to renew their license. Does that sound like it's a mess? It's messing with our freedom of speech or freedom of the press? I think it is. James Risen, a reporter of the New York Times, was treated as a co-conspirator with a government source who was indicted by the Obama administration under the Espionage Act. He was subpoenaed. Government sought access to his cell phone, email, and computer records. Wow. So this guy, he was treated as a co-conspirator, and they spied on him, really, because of what he was reporting. They didn't like what he was doing. For several years, he was threatened with imprisonment. Does that sound like freedom of the press? I don't think so. He later described the Obama administration as the greatest enemy of the press. Wait, isn't that what the media is saying about that other guy? Sounds like it. Even the CNN goon, White House correspondent Jim Acosta said of Trump, the president and his team, not to mention some of his supporters, have attempted to silence the press in ways that we have never seen before. You mean like arresting people and putting them in prison? Like that? Or shutting down their organization? Is that what he's talking about? And he goes on, unprecedented attempts by the Trump administration to silence the press. Really? In what specific ways is he talking about? He doesn't have them. He just wrote a book and released it recently, trying to make him the hero of the press. It's not selling well. Is anybody surprised? So Acosta is Captain Wrong again. Trump has made no sedition act efforts attacking speech, no executive orders imprisoning reporters, no FCC actions against broadcast stations, no criminal charges against media organizations or reporters, no propaganda operations. So calling out the press on what it's wrong, on its wrong reporting, is not attack on the Second Amendment. And by pulling Acosta's backstage badge or whatever they call it, press badge, for a short period of time, is not attacking the Second Amendment, because CNN was still allowed fully in there. It was his bad behavior that got him in there and got him in trouble. Trump has been very transparent and given the media more access to himself than most other presidents. On the way to his helicopter, he always stops and talks to the press. The media is rude, interruptive, and childish. That's how they act. Jim Acosta is a perfect example of this. The goon. There's a freedom of the press, but the press is destroying itself from within. They're spending their entire time trying to figure out ways to destroy the president, and they're not reporting on actual news. They're wasting their time, and they're wasting our time. By pseudo-reporting events, lies, and reporting opinion as fact, and they're quickly losing ratings and credibility. I heard CNN is down to less than 500,000 people each night, and Rachel Maddow's show, she lost half of her audience after the Mueller report came out. When they are wrong, which is a lot, they don't apologize, and they don't correct their mistakes. America is getting tired of these games. It's time to take a stand against fake news and turn it off and find alternative, trustworthy news sources. Another opinion is to become a local, small-scale alternative news organization. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing my own thing. I'm doing a show to spread news. With Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and they're starting to censor conservative ideas and conservative people. And this is wrong. This is violating what these people are attempting to stand for. The spread of information and ideas is important for a free country to run properly, right? It's important for us to share ideas. Even if we don't like the other person's opinion, we need to be able to have the freedom to share it and discuss it, not beat people up who wear a hat that represents something we don't like. Let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. Let's not get angry about it, right? That's what we should be doing. Communication is a must. The truth must be told. It must be out there. That's why the Rebel Show's here. We want to tell the truth. And if we make a mistake and I say something wrong and I'm called out on it, I'll on the show apologize. Or I've done it before, actually, on a YouTube comment. I corrected a mistake I made. An alternative is this new censor-free media platform called All Social. In the past 2 weeks or so, I found out about it and joined it. It's similar to an Instagram look, but they promise to not censor you. They promise that everything you do on there, it's free, open range. And people, I encourage you to download it, try it, and start doing something different. Because the Facebooks and Twitters and YouTubes, they're going to be a problem. We need new alternatives. It's free and ready to download. It's still in the works. I will say that. It's not perfected yet. It's in the works, but it's something new. And I'm on it, and I encourage you to join on there too. Find me. And you know what, listeners and viewers, thank you very much. This is important. Our message is important. The next election's important. Our future's important. So thank you very much.